Hi everyone, my name is Cass Clark. Welcome or welcome back to my channel if you're back from another video I've done, or welcome if it's your first time. I'm glad you're here. I hope you enjoy the watching experience. Anyways, today I wanted to talk about something that I've kind of buried very deep within my mind because I didn't want to remember it, and I'm remembering it now, and I'm thinking about this experience that I've had and how terrible it was and how terribly influential it is and can be to other people in my area, other people with similar experiences, and how it can really negatively affect our lives when the goal of the whole situation is to have a positive impact on our lives. Okay, I gotta smoke if I'm gonna talk about this, so excuse the vaping throughout this video. I live in the Midwest. I live in a very small town, and I went to school in a very small town. But the thing that I want to talk about today is abstinence learning in school. So, specifically, there was this course that I took. It was a required course. It was just in my health class, actually. I would go to school, I'd be in health class, I'd be like, great, I'm going to learn what a vagina is, I'm going to learn about whatever 8th graders are learning about. This is about 5th to 8th grade is the range where they are teaching this in the schools in my area right now. And I don't know if they're still teaching this because I am 19 and this was many years ago when I was taught this. But they would take time out of your health and they would come do probably 8 to 10 courses with you. They would come in every week, once a week, and they would talk to you about Jesus Christ. So they would talk to you about abstinence and sex, and they would talk to you about why you should remain abstinent from sex, from drugs, from smoking, from alcohol, which some of those things are very valid and understandable to be teaching kids. But I don't know if abstinence is really the best thing to be teaching our children when we're in a sexual education course, when we're in a health course. And also, I very, very much remember that at this age, I didn't even think about sex. I wasn't thinking about sex. It wasn't on my mind. It wasn't something that I was actively doing or even cared about. It's not something that crossed my mind at all. Like, the most I wanted to do was, hold somebody's hand or kiss somebody on the cheek, and that's all that I would think of. And I think that most of my peers probably had the same mindset. So I'm going to talk about Quest. Quest is a program that, like I said, would come have an outreach program at my school weekly for quite a period of time. And I want to talk about Quest because, like I said, I feel like it's very detrimental to both the mental health and the growth of kids in school, because I think this makes us repress certain things and have bad thoughts about ourselves when obviously the intent of the course is the opposite. So without further ado, I'm going to take my face off of here and I'm going to put some photos of some samples from Quest that I found online. I'm going to put some photos of samples up on the screen. I'm going to read them and talk you through them a little bit and talk about why I think they're fucked up. Alrighty, so this is a sample I found from the Quest Workbook, which is meant for kids 5th to 8th grade in middle school. And what the opening page says is, Quest is designed to help you think through some of the most important decisions in your life. Specifically, it is designed to help you resist the many pressures pushing you toward sexual activity by making wise choices. Quest is about learning to resist the power of the present and choosing instead to pursue your future freedom. If this is your desire, Quest can help strengthen your resolve to set your course. Alright, so there are already a few problems I see with the opening page. First of all, it is giving us kids, the idea that our future ahead of us is something that we can very much control, which it is, and that is something that's very good to be teaching to kids, but it gives us the idea that our future is something that we are very much in control of in all present moments. So in the moment right now, we're controlling what's going to happen to us tomorrow, what's going to happen to us 5 years from now, 10 years from now, and so forth. We always make decisions which will impact our future. It gives us this, and it tells us that we need to refrain from sex in order to get our shit together, essentially. And a problem with this is, like I mentioned previously in this video, I didn't even have sex on my mind at this point in my life, and I'm sure that most of other people my age as well did not have sex on their mind. We're kids, we want, fruit snacks and fucking basketball, and that's it. Fruit snacks and basketball, that's about all that was on my mind at about this age. So it puts the idea of sex into our head, and it automatically stigmatizes it and makes it a negative thing. It says to refrain from sex is to gain control of your life, and to abstain from this is to give yourself something amazing and to set yourself up for success in the future, which I disagree because everyone has different stages of sexual exploration at different parts of their life. And while it's not something that you should be teaching middle schoolers, I don't think. Like, I don't need to be taught abstinence when I don't even care about sex, if that makes any sense. It's planted the idea in my mind, and this is how I felt at the time too, that whenever I do decide to have sex, or whenever I want to have sex when I'm older, maybe when I'm like 17 or 18, then it's going to be bad and it's going to ruin my life. And from a very young age, that's always been planted into my mind and into the minds of other people who experience this course. And that's absolutely terrifying because it associates sex with bad things. It associates having a sex life or experimenting or doing anything sexually that is not on par with Christian abstinence. It associates that with negativity and destruction. And that is fucking terrible. That is not something that we should be teaching in public schooling. If you want to do that in a private school, or if you want to send your kid to Bible study, that's understandable. But I was in a public school, and there's a separation of church and state for a reason, and this is meshing the two together where they should not be, and influencing the minds of young people when it should not be.
So this here is an example of one of the stories provided in the book. There were many, many stories that we read, all of varying degrees of severity in how they affected people's lives. I'm going to read this to you. It says, "The Dreamer, a True Story" by Shanette Howard. I grew up in a single-parent home in Jacksonville, Florida. As a teenager, I had this crazy idea that I would love to be a cheerleader for the Jacksonville Jaguars NFL football team. Crazy, I know. My father was in prison and my mother worked 2 jobs to care for me until I was blessed with a stepfather who was caring, responsible dad. Statistically, however, I was likely to be a single mom.
Alright, so in this little clip, we get a little story of Jeanette, and we're supposed to be relating with her, and we're thinking, oh, we have these goals, like, what are we going to do with our life? What is Jeanette going to do with her life? We got to find out. There's a whole page-long story that I'm about to read to you guys, which is just a longer version of this story that is in the guidebook to kind of help kids emote and relate to the story. Anyways, it was all normal and fine, like, yeah, she's going to set goals for her future, until the last sentence. Statistically, I was destined or predetermined to be a single mother. Now, why was she predetermined to do that? Because she was, like, grew up in a single mother household? I don't know that that really correlates, and I would like to see charts or something that back that up. I don't think that makes any sense. And regardless, abstinence or not, doesn't really have an effect. Like, I guess you could say if you don't have sex, then obviously you won't end up to be a single mother, but just because you have sex doesn't mean you're going to be a single mother, and that is not how that works. So without further ado, let's get back into the rest of this story.
Alright, so here's a bit of the next page, which has a picture of Shanette. She's gorgeous. She looks like she's glowing. She's living her best life. I absolutely love her. Like, kudos to Shanette for being where she wants to be and being happy in life. But yes, this photo of hers, she's very happy. She's excited. You can accomplish anything that's in the middle of the page that you set your heart on. And work diligently, set your mind. You can accomplish anything. I am going to read this page to you guys, and we will see it together because I haven't read it yet. Not since I was in middle school. Here we go with the story. When I came back home to Jacksonville, I was so proud to say that against the odds, I was a college graduate. I learned the discipline, effort, and self-control that are the keys to moving forward in your life. Throughout high school and college, a defining factor in my life that I was committed to making positive choices. I made a conscious decision to stay away from drinking, drugs, smoking, and sex, and as a result, I had a lot of self-respect. I was determined to make something with it, my life, and I didn't want to let anything stand in my way. After college, I entered a pageant contest and became Miss Florida International 2006. I was interviewed on TV shows throughout Florida and co-hosted a reality show called Real Girls, Real Life, which aired on national television for a year. I was interviewed by Meredith Vieira on the Today Show about how avoiding sex, drugs, and drinking played an important role in achieving my goal so far. In 2008, I was accepted into the University of North Florida to study for my master's degree. I have learned that life is a journey no matter what the obstacles, personal doubts, or opposition that I faced. I always pressed forward and achieved the goal that I set for myself. I am happy to say that after the years of hard work, study, and diligence, I am now a cheerleader for the Jacksonville Jaguars. I found that I once thought was a crazy idea wasn't so crazy after all. I'm still pursuing many more goals for my future. If you have any doubts about your future, let me encourage you to press on and work hard. I know that if you make a plan, stick to it, and work diligently, you can accomplish anything that you set your heart on.
Alright, so this is a very lighthearted story because it is the first story, but going into this video, I do want to say that as the stories progressed, they got worse and worse. I don't remember names of the stories or specific plots because it was so long ago, but I do remember there were stories where, like, I did this and then I had sex and then my life spiraled out of control because I was having sex and my life ruined. So that is another way that they were, like, ingraining bad associations with sex into your life. And even starting off, Jeanette says, I avoided drugs, alcohol, smoking, drinking, and sex. So drugs, alcohol, smoking, and drinking, all things that you probably shouldn't be doing in school, things that can overall negatively affect your life, they're all grouped in with sex, which is not a thing that is inherently bad or negative. And neither are drugs, to say the least, but, I mean, drugs aren't really something that you need to be doing in school, because kids need to, kids need to get their shit together, in my opinion, and not be doing that kind of stuff when they're young. But, because that stuff's for later on in life, like when you're like my age. When you're 19, you can do all the drugs you want to do. But until you graduate, and until you know, like, what you're wanting to do with your life, I would hold off on it. So, it's kind of hard for me to gather my thoughts about this. Yeah, Jeanette talks about how avoiding sex and all of these other negative things helped positively shape her future and impact her life. Like, she credits her success only to the fact that she didn't do drugs or have sex, which seems kind of high horsey to me. It's like, you won't be successful if you have sex. You won't be successful if you smoke. You won't be successful if you drink. I feel like that is the message that's being sent to kids with this course specifically, and it definitely is, because it's trying to dissuade us from those things, and it's trying to tell us that if we want to live our life how we intend to live our life and enjoy our time, like, with whatever we want, with even healthy things like having sex, then we will ruin our lives and not ever be able to reach our goals. Alright, so I'm gonna try to recreate a practice they made us do that stuck with me. They would have us do activities to try to ingrain this in our mind, and one I did that was particularly memorable for me in a negative way was they gave us balloons, and they told us, they're like, these balloons, I'm gonna use markers because I don't have balloons, they're like, these balloons represent things in your life. This represents your job, your career, your job, you're working at McDonald's, whatever you're doing, this is that. This is your focus on that. This is going to represent your school. This represents going to school, studying, learning what you need to learn. And then this is going to be like relationships. So if you have the first item, which is your job, and you're throwing it back and forth, it's easy to keep track of. All you have to focus on is your job, I'm focusing on my job. It's pretty easy. And then they would add your school, and they'd be like, oh, you have two things to juggle now. So I can't juggle if you couldn't tell, but they will make you, like, juggle the two things and be like, ooh, my job and my school, I can't juggle, so what am I gonna do? I can't juggle my job and my school. And then they'll bring in a third thing, and they'll be like, this is your relationship, you gotta juggle all three of these things now, and you're just throwing these things around chaotically, and you're like, I can't do this, I don't know how to fucking juggle, and I'm 12, what the fuck am I juggling for? That's how I felt. And then they bring in another. I'm gonna get myself another marker or pen or something. They're like, this is sex. So here you're juggling your life, you're juggling your job, your relationship, and sex too. There's like 4 things that you're juggling, and you can't possibly juggle all of them fast enough or well enough to succeed in any of them. And that, hold on. That analogy is so damaging because it makes you feel like you can't have multiple priorities in your life. And while it is hard to juggle and maintain certain aspects of your life as you grow older and as you become an adult, it's still like you have to do it to be an adult. You're gonna have to deal with your job. You're gonna have to deal with your school. Any relationships you have, any friendships you have, you're gonna have to deal with them. It's not just juggling. You can't just quit. You can't you have to keep doing it and you have to succeed in it. So the only way to learn is by experience and time, and not just juggling for 5 minutes and then giving up and saying, wow, I should only focus on my school. and never have sex or never get a job or never have a social life or anything like that. That's the message I got from that, and I thought it was really weird and interesting. But I wanted to share that with you guys because I think that these practices are very outdated and shouldn't be used in public schooling anymore. Like, granted, I'm not in public school, but I like to think about whenever I have kids, because I do want to have kids. I'm very excited to have kids someday. Whenever I have kids, I don't want them to send them to school for them to be like juggling fucking balloons about sex. Like, you're 12, go play basketball. I don't want you juggling balloons and thinking that sex is going to ruin your life. Um, Anyways, that is my vague little video on Quest. I hope you guys enjoyed this. I hope you guys enjoyed me talking about my opinions on fucking abstinence in the public school system. And if not, that's okay. If you have any questions down below, if you have anything to add to the conversation, let me know. If you have experiences with Quest, negative or positive, let me know in the comments because I'm curious to know. If you have experience with any other type of abstinence course or any other type of course like that, let me know in the comments. I'm very curious to know. I kind of want to talk about this because I feel like I've never seen it talked about online before, and I think it is unhealthy indoctrination of our children of the nation. And I just wanted to talk about it a little bit. My cat wants to say hi. He's the Muffin Man. I give him a kiss. He says, "You want to say hi? Look." Yeah. He's a little gremlin. He's purring. He's being sweet. He's my best friend, or my second best friend at least, other than Dinky. I'm gonna let him go, and I'm gonna let you guys go. I hope you have an amazing rest of your day, night, afternoon, morning, whatever time it is you are watching, and I hope you've taken something from this.